Deltarune was an absolute joy to play through. Despite Undertale only coming out 3 years ago, it felt like quite a long time. We've had a lot of time to think about the mysteries within, and with Deltarune, we now have another piece to the puzzle. Or should I say, the other half of the puzzle. Despite only Chapter 1 being out, myself and others have noticed something a bit peculiar about Kris, about this whole adventure. It's almost as if we're navigating on the other side of the mirror, and something a bit chaotic is lurking in the dark. Except this time, we're not guided by it. We're the one doing the guiding. So gather around, because it's time for another trip into the world of Deltarune. Buckle up, folks. This video is sponsored by Parsec. Parsec is a game streaming platform that allows gamers to access video games anywhere, on any device. With CoPlay, Parsec allows you to play multiplayer games online with friends, even if the game only supports local co-op. They're latency obsessed, and can stream games at 4K 60 frames per second. This works for any game, and Parsec even has a built-in friendship and invite system that allows you to easily invite your friends to co-play, share controllers, and play lots of fun games together. And to top things off, Parsec has a new feature called Party Finder, which allows you to join parties with players all around the world to play local multiplayer games online in a way that wasn't possible before. You can download Parsec by clicking the link in the description below. And I want to thank Parsec for supporting me as a creator. So immediately after the last theory video I did, the concept for this one kind of sprung into my mind. I think that's one of the things I love about creating theories. You often gather lore bits and make connections that lay the foundation for future ones. And when other people start seeing similar patterns, that makes it all the better. While in the midst of writing this video, someone I met in the past reached out to contribute their thoughts, and they certainly mirrored my own. So I want to thank Sonic Rose for sharing her insight. As she mentioned some things I didn't even have in my pool of notes yet. I met her years ago, after one of my Undertale focused panels at a convention, so a big shout out to her for her help. Now, in Deltarune, we obviously take on the role of Kris. To a lot of us, this was surprising, especially after the 180 that was pulled immediately after the character creation process fell apart. We wake up in a room that seems super tidy, but there's definitely a divide. It's very clear from looking around the room too. The shelves above the bed appear to be in bad shape due to the marks in the wood. And beyond that, they're completely empty compared to the other side of the room. Immediately, you get the sense that Kris is the opposite of their brother Asriel. Asriel has tons of trophies and achievements, and yet Kris has a rusty birdcage and a wagon. Honestly, the first time I was navigating this room, I didn't even notice the red smear on the carpet, which is kind of disturbing. However, judging by what Noelle tells us later on, one could assume this smear on the ground could actually be ketchup. Apparently Kris had placed it on the arms one time to prank Noelle. And in another incident, Kris hid under the bed to scare her. Perhaps these two incidents were related, and thus we have ketchup near a bed. But I digress. Through others, we begin to learn that Kris isn't the most social person. One might even consider Kris creepy. Kris is the complete opposite of Asriel, whom everyone admires. They're late to school often, and don't appear to have many friends according to how Toriel reacts on the phone. And judging by Noelle, Kris appears to like to pull pranks given the ketchup and the bed incidents. But combined with this attire, this familiar, terrifying yellow and green shirt, things are starting to feel a bit familiar. It's almost as if in this alternative timeline, we're guiding Kara through their story under a different identity. Kris and Kara have a lot of similarities, from hair color to outfit to being pranksters. If we rewind back to my Undertale video about Kara, I state the following. As the Undertale story progresses, your feelings towards Kara begin to change once you realize there's something more to this child. When Asgore accidentally becomes sick from a pie that Kara and Asriel bake, Asriel feels bad about the whole thing, but Kara laughs it off. Instead of putting cups of butter into the recipe, buttercups are used instead. These flowers make Asgore extremely sick, but Kara takes note of their potency. While many people have theories about Kara being good, or even the narrator of Undertale, I always defended the angle that Kara was more of a darker entity. They hated humanity, and tried to wipe it out when they fused with Asriel. But if Kris is a reference to Kara, why do things feel slightly different this time? Being thrown into the Dark World only makes things more complicated too, because it's almost as if Kris's personality inverted. Instead of being the quiet, creepy introvert, they appear to take charge. Kris has no quarrels with attacking enemies, or commanding his allies in battle. They seem completely changed. Upon meeting Ralsei and hearing the legend of Deltarune, our party is formed and we embark on an adventure, but we also never question what is really going on. We follow what we are told, and despite our choices that we make, we end up at the same results. Along the way, we assume the role of the heroes, the light and the dark, metaphorically, but also by our title, Lightners versus Darkners. When we encounter our foes, both Lancer and eventually his father proclaim similar things. To us, they're the bad guys. Lancer calls us a hero, and is quick to label himself as a villain. But that's what's interesting about this whole situation, because to them, we're the oppressors. This isn't a matter of good versus evil, seemingly. They are trying to protect something, and we are trying to take it from them, which makes us the bad guys. In Deltarune, we're not the heroes. We're the villains. The thing is, the signs were in front of us all along. Susie even proclaimed that she thought she made a better villain than hero, but it was up to Ralsei and Kris to persuade her to come back over time, which was quite ambitious for Kris, someone who seemed both lazy and unmotivated in the world they came from. Although not always accurate, but even in traditional RPG battles, the standard order of characters is often framed left to right. The enemies usually appear on the left, with the righteous heroes being placed on the right. Now that can of course be argued, but it's an interesting choice. But the thing is, we persist onward assuming everything we're doing is for the greater good. There's no time to stop and think if our actions are right. We just act because we want to get home. It's our justice. The king proclaims to Lancer that he shouldn't have gotten attached to us, because despite the connection that is felt, our goal remains the same. The king is apparently a hero in the eyes of his people, but to us, he's the villain. We're here to end the fountain. This is why he proclaims that Susie, the Lightner, should show Lancer the monster they truly are. As his dialogue unfolds, it's apparent this isn't the first time the Lightners have shown up to wreak havoc. As the king proclaims, "You dare return to torment us once again?" He talks about how shadows of the holy fountains are creating a new world, the world we're in, and that with his victory, we'll be the ones that will understand what it was like to live in despair, to be cast out into obscurity, like the Darkners once were. But we defeat the king, we enter the fountain, and we leave this world behind. But something changed within us. The old Kris seems different. And towards the end of the chapter, when Kris rips his heart out, we know something had changed. The formula was disrupted, and the roles of the world were reversed. In the world of Undertale, we played as Frisk, who was always under the temptation of Kara. If we chose to slay, Kara became more and more awakened in our world, always watching us and lingering close behind. We had the ability to awaken them if we chose to. But in Deltarune, it's almost as if Frisk is the one being awakened. Kris, this new embodiment of Frisk, awakens in the Dark World. And even the name seems like it's almost anagram-like. The colors of our character even mimic the colors of Frisk in Undertale. But the satisfaction of being able to level up in Deltarune doesn't exist. Kara was the embodiment of stats in Undertale, yet is literally starving in Deltarune because we're unable to slay enemies due to Frisk's guidance. In my last video, I talked about how Kara's energy crept into Kris and spread like a virus. But thinking about it more, I think it might actually be Frisk's soul that might be what is taking over. This is why Kara retaliates at the end of the game, by tearing their heart out of their body and locking it in a cage. They went through an entire adventure together, and Frisk's pacifist influence disrupted all their chaotic actions. The drive to be good and fulfill the hero's role, despite being in the villain's shoes, overpowered Kara in some regards. But despite our efforts, it's unknown if the world we exited from was still destroyed in the process. That's what Kara does. And judging by the king's dialogue, that is what defeat looked like for them. We know this world did exist though, and it certainly wasn't a dream. Not only do Susie and Kris both remember it, but it's possible to obtain an egg from a mysterious man that, when placed in Asgore's refrigerator, has the ability to both duplicate but also persist across timelines. If a physical object was pulled from the Dark World and brought into the normal world, that means what occurred was a reality. Like I said at the end of my last video, there's so much to cover about the Dark World itself. And as Jevil puts it in the pacifist conclusion, unfortunately, you kids cannot have a pleasant dream. From now, a nightmare will awaken in your hearts, in the shadow of the night's hand. Lightners, can you stop it? Jevil goes on to say, Lightners, from inside your little cell. It's almost as if Jevil knew the change that was happening within Kris, from the reference of the heart to the cage in your bedroom. But given that Deltarune is almost a mirrored world to Undertale, what role will Frisk's influence over Kris and Kara play, given that our heart is locked up? Will the drive to level up consume our player? Will Chapter 2 be one of violence, while Chapter 1 was one of peace? Will we truly become the villain of this world? I guess we're going to have to wait for future installments to find out. But in the meantime, what are your thoughts? Do you think we're truly the villain of this story? Let me know your personal theory in the comments below. And with that, thanks for tuning in to this alternative perspective. Next time, we're talking about the Dark World. Or the Night. Or Sands. There's a lot to talk about, I guess. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys and gals, and until my next video, cheers.